time to go back in time. Chris has hit the button to go live. In our hands are cups of all types, 'cause it's time for a history stream. Here we are in VTH land. History nerds are gathered on demand. Hit the like and join if you can, 'cause it's time for a history stream. And if you're here to play the VTH drinking game, then you're probably not okay by the end of the history stream. You could be in America or France, Australia, Sweden, India, or Japan. We're a community of all lands, here to watch a history stream. And if you're here to play the VTH drinking game, then you're probably not okay by the end of the history stream. Here we are in VTH land. History nerds are gathered on demand. Hit the like and join if you can, 'cause it's time for a history stream. Here we are in VTH land. History nerds are gathered on demand. Hit the like and join if you can, 'cause it's time for a history stream.
Well, listen here, Joe. I've already started. I got a full glass of iced limoncello going right now. So I apologize to everybody in Europe. I know this is super late for you guys. I know it's already midnight in the UK and like 1 in the morning for Central European time. So unfortunately, this is what I had available this weekend. So here we are. Sunday, I'm probably going to be doing a Zoom call with the folks that I'm going to Central Europe with in 2 weeks. And then Sunday night, I'm taking my kids to see the Minecraft movie, or a Minecraft movie. So tonight's what we have, and Joe says he would not advise me to partake in the VTH drinking game. That's because Joe has some stories, and I'm sure we're going to make some new ones, Joe, in Germany and Czechia and Slovakia and Austria in a couple of weeks, as will Brandon, who will also be there with us. But mention Northeast Ohio ancestry, always. All right. So, yeah, the Minecraft movie's making a ton of money. So let's do I saw a couple of questions in the chat before we started that I starred. So I'm going to get to those real quick, and then we're going to dive into some trivia. It'll be fun. Do you believe the Western Theater would have panned out differently if Johnston didn't fall at Shiloh? It certainly could have. It certainly would have probably dealt with their immediate leadership crisis, because you never really, Joe Johnston's the only decent commander they had in the West, and Jefferson Davis didn't like him. So he kept pulling him out and replacing him with people like Pemberton and Bragg and Hood. None of them were any good. So it'd be interesting to see, extrapolate it out. Let's say the Western Theater goes better for the South. Does Grant even become Grant? Does he get that chance? Because he very nearly didn't get that chance anyway. So if he goes up against a Johnston and Johnston does better, who knows? So I'm glad it panned out the way it did, though. So is there a really good American Civil War book that gives a good overview of the conflict like G.J. Myers' A World Undone did for World War I? What's his name? Bruce Catton, I think, had a 3-part a trilogy series of books on the entire war that's fantastic and probably one of the best that I've read. It's been a long time since I read like an overview book on the Civil War because I did that like when I was a teenager, and I've been doing like deep dives. Like I have an entire 300-page book on the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg. That's the kind of stuff I read now. So I'm looking to see if I have any such books. Where's my Civil War section? It's over on this side. I don't have a lot of my books out yet. A lot of them are still packed. Yeah, I don't see any of them on my shelf, so I can't really think of any at the moment. But yeah, Bruce Catton's is really good. What if Ford beat Carter in '76, and what happens to Ronald Reagan's political career? That's a great question because if Ford beats Carter in '76, Ford could run again in '80 if he wanted to, because he would have served, I think, less than 2 years of Nixon's term. And Reagan I was going to say Reagan might just get pushed back a little bit, but he's already pretty old by the time he runs. So maybe there is no Reagan as we understand him. All right. I'm really curious as to what JD is answering to. Unimpressive, I guarantee. I got to go back and see what Professor What said that led to that. I see my son Eli has joined the chat. JD, his workout routine. I will say this. What's impressive about JD's workout routine is that it starts at like 4:30 in the morning, which is nuts because I'm still sound asleep at that time. Have I ever thought about doing a classic animated Disney movies and breaking them down? The problem is a lot of those movies, right? I mean, we don't really know the time period, do we? That some of those took place in, but I don't know, maybe. Might be a fun thing to do, like over on VTH Extra or something. Had not been for Eisenhower usurping the Iranian government, would President Carter have had to deal with the Iran hostage crisis? Probably not, but then again, who knows what would have happened in the intervening 20 years between those two times. Dalton, thank you for that. And also, Discovery, thank you for that. Dalton, thank you. Won't be here long. Getting to your destination soon. Plans with the family for dinner. Very cool. Well, say hi to the family for me. I hope they're all doing well. And Hugh, wow, thank you for that. Really appreciate that. If I could go back to any time period, what would it be and why? Wow, that's a really interesting question. I think I'd love to go back to Rome, like during the time of Trajan. When Rome is at its height. I would love to see what the city of Rome looked like at that time. That would be amazing. I mean, I've seen like VR reproductions of it, and they look fascinating. So I'd love to just walk the streets of Rome like around the year 100 AD. Would be incredible. All right, let me get caught up on these super chats, and then we're going to dive into a quiz. British guy traveling in North America, any favorite national parks? It's Cuyahoga Valley. I mean, Cuyahoga Valley is decent for what we have in Ohio, but there's certainly better parks. I mean, it's way out west, but like you get into like Montana, Wyoming, beautiful. But honestly, in the lower 48, I think the most beautiful place I've yet seen would either be the Grand Canyon or the area around Lake Tahoe in Northern California, like around Reno, Nevada, Lake Tahoe. You get over, it's right in the area where the Donner Party was. It's right on Interstate 80. Oh, it's gorgeous there. It's amazing. I'm not sure if we can request, but I'm desperate for you to react to the Siege of Jerusalem. That actually would be really, really interesting to react to. Titus, who's going to, actually by that point, Titus, Vespasian's the emperor at that point, and Titus will be the emperor. That would be actually really interesting to take a look at. There's great people have been asking me to do the Zodiac Killer for a while now, Joe. That's. You know what? I'm going to take a picture of that. That's usually what I do so I can remember things from live streams. There we go. Kieran, making the obligatory Wilson sucks statement. Kieran, that's one thing that you and I, who are on different sides of the political spectrum, can agree on. Hugh, thank you for gifting those 10 memberships. I really appreciate that. Joe Flacco, back to the Browns. I am excited. I'm not expecting Joe Flacco to take the Browns to the Super Bowl. But at least I know we're going to have competent quarterback play, which we did not have much last year. And honestly, we looked like a decent team when Joe Flacco was running the offense. So I'm excited. we'll see what happens. Good morning from China. Thank you, Justin. When you come, highly recommend visiting or a visit to Anyang and Shang Dynasty ruins. Fascinating ancient history, and like Sumer is to Western history. Okay, very cool. And those are the two cities. The tour that I'm looking at are between those two cities. So interesting. By the way, I was looking at ideas for future group tours. And I'm always looking for ideas of things that might not be as expensive. And I do want to do some things here in the States as well. But I was looking at a possibility of doing a tour in the UK that would actually be a hiking tour where we would hike about 40 miles of Hadrian's Wall. I think it starts in Carlisle and it goes about 40 miles. And what happens is the tour company takes your bags from point A to point B, and you walk like 6-7 miles a day of Hadrian's Wall. You see the sights, see the forts, visit interesting things along the way. And then you stop for the night at a bed and breakfast. They bring your bags to the bed and breakfast. You eat breakfast, and then you head out for the next day. It's like 7 days, 6 nights, and probably only be like $1,200 or $1,400 a person to do it. And it looks really interesting. So it might be one I want to do down the road. How much of my audience is outside the States? That's a great question. About half. About 50% of my audience, based on the information that I have, is in the U.S., and the other 50% is broken down. It's mostly English-speaking countries. I think the top non-English-speaking country is Germany, and then it kind of goes to smaller percentages after that. All right. Before I get to some more questions, let's go ahead and open up a quiz here. So let's see. Which one am I doing? Songs of the American Civil War is the one I pulled up. This should be interesting. I'm going to zoom it in just a little more so you guys can see it better. So basically what it's going to do is, I don't know how much time. I was going to give me 4 minutes. I'm going to turn off the time just because I'm going to be chatting so much. But I thought this one would be an interesting look at Civil War things. So written by Daniel Decatur Emmett, this song was considered by some as an anthem for the Confederate States. I believe it was written in Ohio. That is going to be Dixie. It's actually Dixie's Land. Yeah, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. It was written in Ohio, yeah. And he was a Unionist and found its popularity in the South repulsive. I love that. Professor, what? Are you guys going to make a bet on the History Showdown? Well, here's the thing. It's going to be interesting because if we do it in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be with JD for 4 days in Gettysburg after we compete after our rematch against each other. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what bet we could make, but I'm open to suggestions. Okay, with contributions from several writers, this ballad of the man responsible for the Harper's Ferry raid will get some lyrical changes to become, it's John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. And Julia Ward Howe heard that song being sung and wrote Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is my absolute favorite Civil War song. If you watch my video that I did at Shiloh Church in my Shiloh Battlefield series, you'll see that there's a hymnal in the church, and I opened it to Battle Hymn of the Republic when I did my shot of the inside of the church. I did that intentionally. I am starring some of your questions so that I can get to them after we do the quiz. All right, let's see. Credited to John Howard Payne. Folks who are asking questions right now, if you're asking why I haven't answered your questions, it's because I said I was going to do the quiz and then I'll get back to the question. So if you keep repeating the same question, it's not going to help it get answered any faster. Credited to John Howard Payne and Henry Bishop, this song was actually banned in the camps because the officers feared it would inspire thoughts of desertion. It's something about home. I'm not sure. I'm going to guess some names of some songs after we go through these. Written by George Frederick Root, this song exploded in popularity after the Union's victory at Antietam. I don't think that's Maryland, My Maryland, because I think that's going to be this one over here. That's written by James Ryder Randall, despite the song's anti-union theme, and ironically became the official state song in Maryland in 1939. Written by Harry McCarthy. Said Henry McCarthy was actually Billy the Kid's real name, or McCarty. This song borrows its title from the nickname of the Confederacy's first flag. We are a band of brothers and native to the soil, fighting for our liberty, we gain by honest toil. Yeah, so that's Bonnie Blue Flag. Hurrah, hurrah for Southern rights, hurrah. Hurrah for the Bonnie Blue Flag that bears a single star. Let's see. Written by Reverend Henry Webster, this mournful love song proved popular with both armies. Is this the one that Elvis ended up writing a song or having a song for orally? No, it's not. Okay. Is it Kathleen Mavournen? I don't even know how to spell that. Written by James Sloan Gibbons, this Unionist song was written in response to Lincoln's call for another 300,000 soldiers to fight in the war. That's got to be... do I have to spell it exactly right? I guess maybe. That's interesting. It's got to be Rally Around the Flag. Oh, we'll rally around the flag. Oh, Battle Cry of the Free. What am I thinking? That's the name of the song. It's Battle Cry for... Oh, that was this one after the Union victory at Antietam. Oh, we'll rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom. We're coming, Father Abraham. Is that? Yeah, you're right. Good call. Good call. Chad got that one. Very good. When Johnny Comes Marching Home is a Confederate song. Oh, that could be. Yeah, that. You know what? That could be this one here, huh? Well, let's look at the other ones first. Written by Walter Kittredge, this song was popular as a lament for Union enlisted soldiers. That's got to be Tenting Tonight. No, it's not. Okay. Tenting tonight, tenting tonight, tenting on the old campground. I guess that wasn't that one. All right, one of these we know is... Oh, wow. That's not any of them either. This song was originally written as the poem The Picket Guard. Don't know that one either. All right, so what are we missing here? Let's see. Home Sweet Home, Lorena. Oh, Tenting on the Old Campground. So I was right. I just got the name wrong. It's called Tenting on the Old Campground. That's a beautiful song. It's a lament. It's talking about all those who have gone before and everything. All Quiet Along the Potomac. Yeah. All right, those are good ones. All right, let's go ahead and catch up on some questions, and then we'll come back to another quiz. I didn't do as good on that one as I'd hoped to. We already did that one. Hal, thank you for that. Let me get caught up to where we are. Any series or shows you recommend related to history, or what are you watching now? Well, this one's not related to history, but the show that I'm really into right now is Shrinking on Apple TV. If you like Ted Lasso, it's actually created by two of the same writers from Ted Lasso, and it's fantastic. A lot of language, so if that's a problem for you. But it's so good, and it's deep, and it's got some really important themes about forgiveness and overcoming tragedy and dealing with conflict and divorce and all this. Like, it's really, really good stuff. Jason Segel, and you've got Harrison Ford in a comedy role, and he's great. I think it's the first time in a movie or a TV show we've seen the real Harrison Ford, because when I've seen him in interviews, the character he is in this show, Shrinking, that's how he is in interviews. So I think that's the real guy. All right, let's take a look. What else we got here? Aziz, what do you think of Iraq? And do you plan to visit Baghdad? I would love to someday. It's not in my immediate plans, but I would definitely love to get back to that part of the world. I'm going back to Egypt in December. Would like to go to Jordan at some point, and I'd love to go to Israel. I'd love to go to Iraq. What's your favorite European city in terms of history and architecture? Ooh, Honestly, it's Vienna. I mean, there's a lot of cities I haven't been to yet, but Vienna, I love Vienna, and I'm going back in a couple of weeks. So I'm pretty excited about that. Vienna has the whole package for me because there's some cities that have, like Rome has incredible history, and Pompeii was great for history, and Cassino was a cool little town that we visited in Italy, and I love Salzburg. It's really cool. But for me, the whole package is Vienna. It's got great places to eat and to hang out for an evening. Got little dive bars that are a lot of fun with apple strudel shots and Nintendo 64 to play. But it's got some of the most amazing history I've ever seen. The architecture is beautiful. The culture is great there. I just love everything about it. Joe, do you think if Hitler was killed in World War I, there would still be a World War II? Yeah, you know what? Obviously Hitler had a lot of charisma going for him, and that helped a lot with that. But there was a vacuum there that was going to be filled by somebody. Maybe it doesn't look exactly the same, but hey, how you doing? I'm doing well. I hope you are as well. Angelique, thank you for that. Wheeler Visuals, thank you. Listening on the way to work. Very cool. Appreciate that. Dan, thank you so much. Dan, the man legend. Not him, Chan. Sorry for being political, but I understand you conservative. How do you feel when the Republican or conservatives are being viewed as villains outside the U.S.? I can't control how people view others. I'm not a Republican. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I am conservative politically. Honestly, I don't really trouble myself too much with what other people think of me or people like me. If I did that, I'd never get out of bed in the morning. The Real RMG, thank you for being a member for almost 3 years. That's amazing. Choose one English monarch to drop into a random time period post 1066, replacing whoever should be king or queen, who has the versatility to succeed. Henry V. Henry V, great warrior, great mind, deeply religious man. I think he, among all the monarchs that I can think of, has the skill set to succeed in any of those time periods. So he's the one I would choose. Doesn't hurt that I just finished Dan Jones' book on Henry V, so I'm really up on him right now. I've not got a history question, just thanks for the content. 8 out of 10 for the singing. I will take that. Listen, I'm kind of doing it on the fly. I'm not trying to sound good, so if it still came across as an 8, I'll take it. I am setting up my equipment. I've got my guitar amp over there. I do have my cheap old guitar here that I sometimes play around with, but what could I sing that wouldn't get me copyrighted here? Let's see. I'd have to sing something of mine if I didn't want to get copyrighted. Oh, it's out of tune and it needs strings. Needs new strings on it. All right. Yeah, actually, I don't know if I can even play this because of the strings are needed, but a hymn would work because that's in the public domain. Oh, Eli says, "Oh yes, the very out of tune guitar." Well, here, let's do this. You know what? You've conned me into it, so now I'm gonna play something for you here. So I'll have to do I'll have to tune it real quick, but I'll answer some more questions while I'm tuning my guitar, and then I'll play a hymn or something that won't get me copyrighted. In the meantime, let's say hello. I've been watching you for at least 2 years. First time I comment. Thank you for that. See any reactions about Greek history? Yes. And my son Eli especially would love if I would do some Greek history, as I'm sure he's going to say right now in the chat. Coat of Arms by Sabaton. I did see Sabaton's got a new song coming out about the Knights Templar, which is pretty cool. My friend Marcel messaged me about that, and so did my friend Vashik, both of whom I'm going to see in the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that. Do I think a Band of Brothers style show about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team? That would be a great idea. That would be an amazing story. Plus, there's people in that we know, like Daniel Inouye was part of that, who became a senator later on. I would love to see that kind of a show. Thank you for Civil War reactions, Wheeler Visuals. Listen on the way to work at 5 a.m. Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Did Napoleon lose or Europe finally win? Europe finally win because they just overwhelmed him. There's just only so much he could do, right? I got to go up. I think if I use the capo, it's going to mess up my bad strings. Let's see. I could probably do this one. I'll do the best I can with this here. Let's see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Anyway, probably a little lower than I would normally sing it, but anyway, all right. I appreciate that, Tater. You know, before I had a YouTube channel, that's what I did. I was a musician. I wrote a lot of songs. I have a couple CDs that I've recorded. Used to play in coffee houses, churches, wineries, all kinds of stuff. I was doing like 6 or 8 gigs a month. It was a lot of fun. So, all right, let's get back to some questions. Then we'll do another quiz. I hear my son Eli in the other room singing now. He's an excellent singer as well. So, all my kids are really talented. There's a lot more we agree on than we don't. Definitely a lot on the Discord. For example, our views on the Constitution and the courts. I agree. And I think that's probably true for most Americans, Kieran. I think we have just learned how we've lost the ability to disagree because we focus so heavily on the hot button issues that we disagree on instead of how much we really do have in common. I agree with you 100%. How much did Robert E. Lee's health affect his decision-making at places like Gettysburg? It may have. I think there's certainly an element of him being tired and he may have had a heart attack at that time and him just wanting it to be done. And I think maybe that made him a little more aggressive than he otherwise might have been because he just wanted it to be done with and he wanted to go home and he wanted his men to be able to go home. Certainly possible. How did McCarthyism rise and fall? Well, it rose because of the circumstances of the era. It was a time in which, much like the era in which Nazism rose to power. It was the right time at the right place with the right people because there was fear. And when there's fear, people will turn to folks they might not otherwise turn to. And they'll do things they might not otherwise do. And when there's this great fear of the big red menace of communism, and you see that drives politics for the entire Cold War, and it drives our wars, and it drives our military policy, and it drove our politics. And that's why McCarthyism rose. And why did it fall? Because people finally got a glimpse of what it looks like when it goes too far, I think. Hey, VTH, the gamer person, thank you for that. Recently started a history channel of your own, working on your first video. Any tips? I would say, first of all, just start making content because every time you make a video, you're going to learn something and you're going to do it better. I don't know a single YouTuber who doesn't look back at a video from 2 years ago and cringe and say, ugh, I wouldn't have done that way. And that's because we're constantly evolving and we're constantly learning. And so Ed Sheeran says this with songwriting. He said the key to becoming a good songwriter is to write a lot of songs. For every song that ends up on an Ed Sheeran album, he probably writes 10 or 15 songs that we never hear. So you just have to do it. So find a topic you're passionate about, that you're knowledgeable about, and then just start doing. And if your first video gets 10 views, then that's 10 people that saw, and you might get some feedback. And then the next one might get 100 views or 1,000, and you learn from it. You learn from every video that you make and every content, every bit of content that you research. Maxime, thank you. Speaking of beautiful cities in terms of architecture, do I know Carcassonne in France? I know there's a game named after it. I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I have not yet been there. It sounds beautiful, though. Yes, the book Unruly, which is right here. That was actually sent to me by the publisher for free. That's one of the perks now of having a YouTube channel with 470,000 subscribers, that probably on a weekly basis, a publisher like Penguin Random House or someone like that will reach out and say, hey, we got a new history book. Would you be interested? What address can we send it to? And then they mail it to me. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And that one was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's been a while since I read it, but I think probably the parts that I enjoyed the most surrounded William the Conqueror, 1066, the Norman invasion, that whole part. If I can meet anyone from history, who would it be? It'd be either Napoleon Bonaparte or Ulysses S. Grant, I would think. Right now, it changes. Ask me next week, I might say Teddy Roosevelt. All right, let's do a couple more, and then we'll get back to the quizzes. Would you like to see a German version of Band of Brothers like Generation War? Yeah, Generation War I thought was really good. And when you first asked that question, I was about to say Generation War, but would it be appropriate? Absolutely. I think it would be not only appropriate, I think it's necessary. I think we need to see that side of things. I wish we could see more of that, because I think it would help us understand how a young German who might not have any love for the Nazis could end up fighting for and dying for his country. Opinion on the new Air Force One paint scheme. I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to check that out. All right, I got two more, and then I'm going to get to another quiz. Gregory, how would you apply history to the future? Don't invade Russia in the winter, etc. We backed Afghanistan, but then went to war. Is it something similar to something like Ukraine? I think probably the lessons we're going to learn is be careful whose side you take in wars outside your borders, because the people that you side with today might become your enemies tomorrow, and you might be arming your future enemy, like in Afghanistan. Carly, thank you for that. Looking forward to Gettysburg Film Festival. I'm so glad you're going, Carly. That's going to be awesome. Absolutely, definitely, please. Wherever I'm at, even if I look like I'm talking to 30 other people, please come up and say hi to me. And that goes for anybody, even people I've never met before. Carly and I know each other, but yeah, anytime. If you see me somewhere, if you see me at the airport, this happened a couple weeks ago. I was at the airport, and it was a morning flight out of Pittsburgh, and a guy came over to me and asked me if he could take a picture with me. We talked for a few minutes, and yeah, I was like, great. Yeah. Doesn't bother me a bit. Please interrupt me. What am I looking forward to the most of the festival? Number one, seeing my friends. I got a lot of friends that are going to be there. My friend Marcel, JD, Gary Edelman, Chris White from the American Battlefield Trust, getting to see Martin Sheen again, who's just an amazing guy. Susan Eisenhower will be there again. Ken Burns, getting to meet new people, and honestly, just getting to go back up on Little Round Top again. I haven't been back to Gettysburg since Little Round Top opened back up, so I'm excited about that too. All right, let's do some more quizzing. This one's called Best and Worst Generals of the American Civil War. So we'll start it. I'm going to turn off the timer, and we're just going to go through these one at a time here. And we see that Arby's advertisement there on the side. The original Arby's was about 2 miles from where I'm sitting right now. Okay. Regarded as one of the most effective Civil War generals of the war, he was killed by friendly fire at the Battle of Chancellorsville. Oh, yeah, that's Stonewall Jackson. Lee said of him, he may have lost his left arm, but I have lost my right. Union general, often regarded as a hero or a villain, depending on whom you ask, known for his scorched earth tactics. That is William Tecumseh Sherman of Ohio, Lancaster, Ohio, which is right outside of Columbus. Yeah, JD, I agree completely. There's so much going on at the Gettysburg Film Festival this year. Dale Dye is going to be there. Trace Adkins, the country singer, is going to be there. It's going to be amazing. Most famous of the Confederate generals, he commanded the Army of Northern Virginia, and historians often note that he lost a third of his men in half his battles. Yeah, it's Robert E. Lee. People forget Robert E. Lee lost more men than Ulysses S. Grant did during the war, and Grant was in command longer than Lee was. Yes, I will definitely react to Sabaton's new song about the Knights Templar when it releases. This Union general was made general-in-chief of the armies in March 1864 and later became president. That's Grant. This Confederate general was a man Robert E. Lee would often consult for advice, even though this man was a lower-ranking general commanding the 1st Corps of the Army of Northern Virginia. That is Longstreet. James Longstreet. James Peter Longstreet. Been to his grave. It's in northern Georgia. A couple of his sons are buried at Arlington. The Confederate general was arguably the most effective cavalry general of the war. He was mortally wounded at the Battle of Yellow Tavern. That's Jeb Stuart. Young guy. He's buried in Richmond at the Hollywood Cemetery. Yes, I do have some Civil War artifacts. I actually got a new one today. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Actually, I'll just tell you about it now. So my 4th great-grandfather, Dan Servey, was a sergeant in Company I of the 4th Pennsylvania Cavalry, was with the Army of the Potomac from the Peninsula all the way to Appomattox. Often served as a courier for generals on the Peninsula. He was a courier for General McCall, who was a division commander. Did some work as a headquarters guard, was at Gettysburg, was at all these famous battles. And he lived until 1894 and went to all the reunions for the unit, including the one where they unveiled their monument on Cemetery Ridge at Gettysburg. I've seen his name on the list. And so this reunion in 1891 that he went to in Pittsburgh, I just picked up, just came today, the program from that reunion. It's just really cool. It's like, when you go to a really fancy dinner at like a banquet house or something, and they've got like the program for everything, and it's all really fancily designed and calligraphy and all that stuff. And that's what this is. It's really, really cool. And it's in beautiful condition too. This Union general is remembered as the Rock of Chickamauga. That's Georgia's George Thomas, who was roommates with Sherman at West Point. This Union general was responsible for the victory at the Battle of Cedar Creek. That is Phil Sheridan. It's going to be, how about I just do Sheridan? Because it's Philip Sheridan. And in the Confederacy's last attempt at invading the North. This Confederate general, although his performance at the beginning of the war was poor, by the end his performance had greatly improved, as successful offenses at the Battle of Stone's River, and famously held his ground at Missionary Ridge while outnumbered and outgunned, known as the Stonewall of the West. I think probably one of the top 5 Confederate generals of the war. That's Patrick Cleburne. Killed at the Battle of Franklin. Going to be going to Franklin sometime in the near future to do some content. This Confederate general, although he lacked a formal education, his men always said he wanted to do, because he said it simply, get there first with the most. That's the Grand Wizard himself. That is, oh gosh, what's his name? I got a picture of him hanging right out there. Why is his name drawing a blank on me right now? He's the Grand Wizard of the KKK, later repudiated that. Oh, gosh. This is what happens when I stream. My brain stops working and I can't remember the names of people. Nathan Bedford Forrest. There you go. All right, now I guess we're going to do some bad generals. Is that what the other side is? This Confederate general is regarded by many as the worst general in terms of effectiveness in the Civil War, despite failures at major battles such as Stone's River and Chickamauga. He never acknowledged his mistakes and frequently blamed his subordinates. When he was removed from his position as general, he later served as Jefferson Davis's chief military advisor. Oh, okay. Is that Beauregard? No, that's got to be... yeah, maybe it is Beauregard. No, he wasn't one of the worst generals of the war, though. It's got to be... Is it Bragg? Yeah, it's Braxton Bragg. Of course it is. I don't think he was he wasn't good, but he was hardly the worst general. I mean, Leonidas Polk comes to mind. There were some really bad generals on the Confederate side. John Pemberton. All right, the Union General, although among the best when it came to supply and organization, say no more. I'm currently going through Stephen Sears's book on the Peninsula Campaign. My goal is, I'm actually planning in the next year, I'm going to be taking fewer trips to Europe and trying to do more domestic stuff. In particular, I want to make a lot of content for my Stories of the Civil War channel. And I've got this dream of doing a Peninsula Campaign series at some point. So I'm reading Stephen Sears's book on the Peninsula Campaign. And there are some things that McClellan's better at than I thought he was, but there's other stuff that he was even worse than I realized he was. So it's been interesting. This Union general, although a friend of Abraham Lincoln, is really only famous for three things: his disaster at the Battle of Fredericksburg, his failure at the Battle of Crater, and his facial hair. The Crater I don't put on Burnside. And honestly, I don't put that much of Fredericksburg on him either. Unfortunately for him, I think other people are more to blame. I blame Meade, and I love George Meade. I blame Meade for the Crater. I don't think McClellan can be overhated. This Confederate general, despite a successful career as a clergyman, say no more, Leonidas Polk. He wasn't just killed by a cannonball at the Battle of Marietta. Let me tell you how that went down. So just picture in your mind Confederates on one ridge line, Union on the other side. You can see them from a distance. You're General Sherman, and you see a group of high-ranking Confederate officers gathered on the ridge line over across the way. And you're near a battery. And you call to that battery commander and you say, hey, why don't you fire at that clump of Confederate officers over there? And the first shot literally cuts the guy in half. That's what happened to Leonidas Polk. Crazy luck for both sides, because I don't think it really hurt the Confederate cause that Leonidas Polk was killed. No sooner had I said it than Garrett said it too. Leonidas Polk's death was a big loss for the Union Army. Chris won't like that Lee comment. No, that's just the lost cause talking there. Robert E. Lee wasn't even the best general on his own side, let alone in the war. Because he had less to work with, Robert E. Lee should have made different choices. Because look, if you look at what George Washington did in that situation, look at what Joe Johnston did in that situation, that's how Robert E. Lee should have gone. If you are not able to access the same manpower and resources, you don't go jaunting into Pennsylvania with your army. Bad idea. This Confederate general, although a friend of Jefferson Davis, was responsible for two major losses: the Battle of Pea Ridge and the Second Battle of Corinth. Yeah, it's gotta be Sterling Price, right? No, it's Earl Van Dorn. Yep. Been to his grave. He's buried as part of the Vicksburg campaign. He's buried in was it Port Gibson? This Union general's declaration of martial law in Missouri, say no more. This guy thought he was an emperor. This has got to be reassignment to Shenandoah Valley. That's Fremont. John C. Fremont, who was the Fremont. He's got a little accent over the E. He was the 1856 Republican nominee for president, the very first Republican nominee in history, actually. That's fine. Nothing wrong with playing devil's advocate, Chris. I'm all for it. This Union general, although successful industrialist, is remembered for his failed Red River campaign. Well, that's got to be Banks. What Banks? Nathaniel Banks. What about his failed Shenandoah Valley campaign? All right, let's see. This Confederate general, although he was successful at 7 days battles, he later lost a leg at the Battle of Chickamauga and was responsible for the Confederate loss of the Battle of Jonesboro. Lost a leg at Chickamauga. Well, that's got to be John Bell Hood, right? It was never the same after that. I think I put a lot of why John Bell Hood was such a bad general in the last year of the war on the fact that John Bell Hood led assaults in some of the deadliest fighting in the two deadliest battles of the war in the span of 3 months, lost the use of an arm and lost a leg. His leg was hit by a cannonball that shattered his femur. The man went through horrendous pain and devastation to his own body. He was not the same after that. He was a young guy too. I think that's why I think it's less about the fact that he rose too high, because he was an excellent division commander. I think it was more about he just went through a lot of trauma and just wasn't the same guy after that trauma. No, it's Dan Sickles' leg that's in a museum. I think Hood's leg's buried on the Chickamauga battlefield. This Union general, despite being a respected politician, had two great failures: his failed invasion of Richmond in May 1864 and his failed assault on Fort Fisher in North Carolina. Well, who? Nobody invaded Richmond in May of 1864. That was Grant that was leading that. Wasn't Adelbert Ames in command of the assault on Fort Fisher? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, it's probably, okay, Benjamin Butler, because Butler commanded the Army of the James. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I wouldn't call that a failed invasion of Richmond. And there's, I think, better things you could have mentioned about Butler, like the occupation of New Orleans, for example. Yeah, Bermuda 100. I don't know. I never considered that an invasion of Richmond. I guess maybe it's just the wording I'm getting caught up on. It was just part of the movement of all the armies that was happening to put pressure on Richmond. This Confederate general, although respected by Grant and Sherman, his preferred method was strategic withdrawal, but that was what was necessary for the Confederacy, and that's Joe Johnston. Yeah, both of them really respected him a lot. So, all right, let's get back to some questions here, and then we'll do some different categories. Benjamin Butler, Pennsylvania. That's funny. Okay, where am I at on the questions? Here we go. Bruce Targaryen. Interesting. Are you the product of incest like all the other Targaryens are? Any tips for researching family records from foreign countries, specifically Mexico? Ancestry and Family Search both have a lot of Mexican records. Actually, the guy who's about to be my stepfather, because I'm doing my mom's wedding next month, a lot of his ancestry is in Mexico. And I've been doing some research on him. And there's actually a lot of records available. You just got to be able to translate them from Spanish. So yeah, Ancestry, Family Search are the two best places, I think, to look. Marstar Miller, thank you. If Tsar Paul I didn't institute male preference succession, does the Romanov dynasty survive? Honestly, I mean, if all other things being equal, I'm not sure it would have mattered. I mean, I guess what you're getting at is the uncertainty because of Alexei and his hemophilia, and whether or not there would have been more stability because of all the daughters that the Tsar had. But I think that had less to do with that and more just to do with the politics of the day and the situation with the Great War. My gut tells me no, but I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination on the Romanov dynasty, even though that was one of our categories in our Jeopardy game the other day with me and Emperor Tiger Star and the Cynical Historian. I already answered that one. Yes, I will definitely react to that. Michael Knowles presidential tier list. Yeah, I could take a look at that. I've never done any. I'm not even really that familiar with Michael Knowles. Plans to visit Spain. Yes, I would love to visit Spain. I don't personally have any connections to Spain. Can't think of any fun facts. I'd love to visit some of the Napoleonic War battlefields there. But yeah, I'd love to get to Spain. My sister went to Barcelona last year, I think it was. No, Madrid. She went to Madrid and she loved it. She loved it there. So, yeah, I'd love to check it out sometime. couldn't do his voice. Have you listened to the full version of Bob Dylan's Cross the Green Mountain? I have not. The only Bob Dylan songs I know are songs that other artists have covered, like Wagon Wheel and Man of Constant Sorrow and Make You Feel My Love, which has been covered by like everybody. The thing with Bob Dylan is such a terrible singer that all his great songs end up being more popular when somebody else does them. Super talented writer, though. If the U.S. went to war against a major world power today and we could bring back a great U.S. general to lead it, yeah, I would say probably someone like Ike is who we would need. I think Grant was the better field general. Ike never led troops in the field, but Ike, I think, would have a better sense of what a modern war would look like and using combined arms and supply and logistics and all that stuff even better than Grant. And Grant was really good with that kind of stuff. Stormin' Norman, someone said. Norman Schwarzkopf. I got to visit his grave and his father's. His father's got a connection to history as well. Does anybody know what Norman Schwarzkopf's father, who I think was also named Norman Schwarzkopf, what his claim to fame is? They're buried right, I think, one behind the other at West Point Cemetery. Well, let's see who gets it first. Who knows what the claim to fame is of General Schwarzkopf's father? Did I see Minecraft? No, we're going to see it on Sunday. I'm just watching the answers to see if anybody gets it. Somebody's Googling it right now, I'm sure. H. Norman Schwarzkopf. I think senior, because I think maybe the son's junior. What's my favorite food? Probably pizza. Chicken tenders. I'm not a complicated guy. All right, so I haven't seen anybody answer it yet. So I'll go ahead and tell you. His father was the head of the New Jersey State Police during the Charles Lindbergh baby case. If you're not familiar, it was called the crime of the century before the OJ crime became crime of the century. Charles Lindbergh's son, Charles Lindbergh Jr., was kidnapped out of his bedroom as a baby. And then these people asked for a ransom. They end up finding the baby dead. A guy gets arrested, ends up being executed for it, and he may or may not have been the ringleader of the thing. But Norman Schwarzkopf's father was the head of the investigation. He was the head of the New Jersey State Police during all of that. Okay, where are we at? John Burns, great name. Henry V lives into his 70s. No Wars of the Roses. Be interesting because at the very least you have England and, you have different wars, right? You're probably still dealing with a continuation of 100 Years' War at that point. Because if Henry V lives into his 70s, he inherits the throne of France, which his son ended up inheriting a month after he died, after Henry V died. So I think if anything, you see a continuation of the 100 Years' War and probably less of a chance of the Wars of the Roses. Yeah. Why do you think Europeans thought that the Union and Confederates were fighting, quote unquote, poorly? Because the Europeans thought that they were better at everything. The United States was still viewed as this young, upstart, fledgling nation that was still figuring things out. And to a degree, they were right about that. So they were bound to look down on the United States because the United States had not yet reached its prime yet, which I think really happens when you get into the turn of the beginning of the 20th century. Did I brag to JD about my great victory? I did not, and here's why. I'm humble in victory because I recognize full well that it all comes down to the categories. You saw what happened early on when the first couple of categories had to do with maps and micronations. Emperor Tiger Star was kicking our butts. If we'd have gotten to something like the Wild West, you would have seen Cynical Historian doing really, really well. Though I know a little bit about that, not to the degree that he does. I got good categories that, I happen to be, somebody like Emperor Tiger Star or Cynical Historian. You talk about people who are jack of all trades and a master of none. Well, they have specific areas where they're masters of. And I think my knowledge in history is not quite as deep as theirs in specific areas, but it's wider. So I tend to do better in that format because I know a little more about a lot of things. So I think that helped a lot. It comes down to the categories. So I'm not going to brag about it because you saw what happened last time I went up against JD. He won. So I make no promises about what's going to happen next time. Thanks for the great content. You're going to visit Scotland for the first time. What were my favorite things to see there? The Isle of Skye, Kevin, was amazing. Edinburgh, I love Edinburgh. So much history there. Definitely get to Edinburgh. I went up to Inverness, and then we went to Orkney. That's where Skara Brae is. Beautifully preserved Stone Age village. You've got what's left of the naval base that was there, including a bunch of German ships that got scuttled, and there was a big British ship that got sunk there in World War II by a U-boat. Really, really cool stuff up there, so definitely check that out. But Edinburgh's amazing. The Highlands, though, nothing like the Highlands. My kids would live in the Highlands tomorrow if they could. American Nerd, besides Jed Bartlett, good qualifier there. Who is your favorite fictional U.S. president? Bill Pullman in Independence Day. Yeah, I'd say probably Harrison Ford in Air Force One. Let's see. Anytime you get what's his name that does all the narration? Morgan Freeman played a president as well. That was in like the sequels to Olympus Has Fallen, like London Has Fallen. And no, it's the one after that. It's Angel Has Fallen. He plays the president. I like Morgan Freeman in anything that he's in. So, HMS Royal Oak. That's right, Steve. That's the ship I was thinking of that was sunk at Scapa Flow in World War II. And you can actually still see some of the ships that were sunk to block the channels into Scapa Flow to kind of prevent avenues of entrance and exit for the U-boats. They're still there. And Deep Impact. Yeah, that's right. He was the president in Deep Impact. Michael Douglas, president. Darn it. I remember that. Oh yeah, that was a good movie. I didn't like his politics necessarily in that movie, but Michael Douglas is great in anything. And his son is actually a fan of Vlogging Through History, which is pretty cool. We almost connected, me and Dylan Douglas. Dylan's parents are Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And he's been a longtime fan of VTH. He follows me on Instagram. We talk on there every so often. But we were both in Dublin, Ireland at the same time, but he arrived the night that I was leaving. And so we just missed each other by a few hours being able to connect because he messaged me that night and we were going to try to connect, but it just didn't happen. Dylan has a podcast now. He's a young guy, early 20s. He's really involved in politics and has a very bright future, I think, ahead of him. Okay, let's see. Would you be interested in trying out some more modern new campaign trail mods? Yeah, we're going to, that might be the topic of the next live stream. We'll be playing some more new campaign trail. The new campaign trail showcase is fantastic. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I think that might be our next live stream subject. Done a bit of NASA. Love more on Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo missions. You're an engineer by trade. Very cool. Hey, space questions were the last two questions of the Jeopardy that I won the other day. I was honestly surprised that neither of those guys beat me on those questions. One was about the James Webb Telescope and what did it, what was the one that was launched in 1990 that James Webb was there to kind of replace? It was Hubble. And then the other question was about the first man in space. And I was surprised neither one of those guys knew. One of those things where you probably do know it and you just can't think of it at that time because sometimes knowledge that you've had for years just escapes you at the wrong moment. And that's probably what happened. You grew up in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Yeah, right down there by Marietta. I have not done anything on Blennerhassett and Burr's plot to overthrow the government or at least to break away from the government. Very good. I do get a lot of Instagram. Honestly, I don't always get to see the Instagram messages because Instagram filters messages out that don't come from people that you've chatted with before on Instagram. So I don't always see them because it doesn't give me a notification when I get new messages like that. So I apologize if I didn't see it. Saber Warrior, thank you for becoming a member. A couple more lists, then we'll do another quiz here. Do I approve of Donald Trump's general handling of immigration? Includes restrictions on legal immigration. Here's what I said. I don't remember where I said this. It might have been on another live stream. A lot of the ideas behind some of Donald Trump's policies, things like DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, things like the trade war that we're doing with the tariffs and stuff, and the stuff with immigration and deportation. The overarching big idea behind it, I agree with. I don't like how it's being done. I don't like the handling of it. I feel like these are very complex issues that require a scalpel, and he's going at it with a blowtorch. So it's tough because I agree we have a serious illegal immigration problem. We have a serious problem with our border that has gone far too long without being properly addressed. But I don't think sending a dozen ICE agents to round up a 10-year-old at an elementary school is the way to go about it. I'm not saying that's even happened, but I'm saying that's the kind of thing that you hear about in the news. That's not the way to go about dealing with that issue. So I agree with some of the precepts. I disagree with the implementation of it, I guess is what I would say. K Kodom, thank you for that. Appreciate that. American Nerd, thank you. Have you seen the alternate history show? I have seen For All Mankind, yes. The Soviets land on the moon first, so then there's the race to put a woman on the moon first, and then it kind of goes to Mars from there. It's really actually a very fascinating show. Really well done. Now the serious question for the night. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could own Bitcoin? So let me show you something today that came up in the news locally. Let me see if I can find it. Because it had to do with Bitcoin, and people didn't realize that it had to do with Bitcoin. Let me see if I can find the article. I might have seen it on Facebook, so it might not even be on like our local news. But it was basically like, it was something to the effect of there was this new facility that was going in, and it used all this fancy language to describe what this facility was going to be in our local area. Like $4 million was going to be spent on this new tech facility. And as I was reading it, I was like, you know what that's saying is that they're building a facility to mine Bitcoin. That's literally what they're building. And it wasn't worded that way. It was worded in some fancy way to make it sound like it was this great tech project, but it was just really a big facility to mine Bitcoin, which I don't even begin to understand. So, your question was about a different. Oh, okay, great question. So what you're saying is, would there be a different heir rather than Henry VI? Well, Henry VI would still be the heir because he would still be the oldest. But if there was an option other than Henry VI, is what you're saying. Okay, that makes sense. Grouping together all English monarchs with the same name, which group do you think is the strongest? Oh, it's got to be Elizabeth. Elizabeth I and II were both really solid. The Henrys have some weak spots. There's a couple really good Henrys in there, but then there's some really bad Henrys too. It's got to be Elizabeth. All right, a couple more, and then we'll do another quiz. I'm really sad I couldn't make it to Appomattox 2. I planned so much in my schedule, and then inevitably things come up that you don't plan for in your schedule, and it just became impossible for me to do it. So really disappointed, especially because I saw all the great pictures and videos from Appomattox from all my friends who were there. Really sad I couldn't be there. Yeah, the D-Day Memorial, that's in Bedford, Virginia. I didn't realize that was that close to Appomattox. That's really good to know. The Bedford Boys, that's a story that's really near and dear to my heart since I've been to Dog Green sector at Omaha Beach, which is what you see in Saving Private Ryan. It was actually the Bedford Boys who were in the first wave there. Do I think there are ways to prevent the fall of the Western Roman Empire? Yeah, better leaders. Get rid of all the corruption and all the constant infighting and murdering of emperors. I think that's really what it came down to. All right, let's do another quiz. Let's do something other than Civil War. I have not yet made it out to Little Bighorn. That's like my white whale. That's like I'm Captain Ahab, and I keep talking about how I need to catch it, and I haven't yet. Every year it's like, this is the year I'm going to Little Bighorn. And then my friend JD went to the Little Bighorn, and I was really jealous about that. Yeah. Okay. What could we do that's a good quiz? All right, let's do a World War I topic. Yes, I'm playing to my strengths right now. So this one's called World War I or World War II. What am I drinking? It's limoncello on the rocks. All right, let's go ahead and pull this one up. I haven't looked at the questions yet. I don't even know if they're any good. This one's called World War I or World War II. Okay, it started with an assassination. World War I, Franz Ferdinand, June of 1914. These are pretty easy, I think. There was a German offensive named the Battle of the Bulge, World War II. Mustard gas was commonly used, World War I. Civil War Corps tier list. Well, you know the 17th Corps is going to be at the top. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Fab, I didn't even see the comment, so I don't know what you're talking about. Jack the Ripper trivia. Interesting, DJ Flick. Maybe we'll do that. Higher death toll of the two wars. World War II. Japan and Germany were allies. World War II. Mussolini was a leader of Italy. World War II. These are really easy. Manfred von Richthofen was a famous pilot. World War I. Zeppelins bombed London. World War I. Both wars had bombings of London. Your 10-year-old would ace this quiz, Boogie Monster. That's right. Germany captured Paris. World War II. The war is known in Russia as the Great Patriotic War. That's World War II. T.E. Lawrence, World War I. Yeah, I'm just going to fly through this real quick. Germany made a proposal to Mexico to invade the United States. World War I. President at the start of the war died before it ended. World War II. But, I mean, other countries had different leaders at the beginning than they did at the end in both wars. So that's kind of interesting. More than 1 million French soldiers died. That's World War I. Allies delivered supplies to China using the Burma Road. World War II. Is it going back and forth? You think I missed a super chat a while back about Missouri in the Civil War? All right, let me go back and take a look here. I'm scrolling back. There's a lot of them, so I want to make sure I don't miss it. There it is. Thank you for that, JD. Morgan Mama. Why is Missouri's role in the Civil War always overlooked? The governor disagreed with the state representatives about secession. It was the only state that never left the Union, but was also accepted in the Confederacy. Not sure that's true. I think Kentucky also never left the Union, but was accepted into the Confederacy because it had a Confederate government. I think it's because it's out west and it's sparsely populated and everybody focuses on the two big theaters, which is the Eastern Theater and then what we call the Western Theater, whereas Missouri was the Trans-Mississippi Theater, which is the afterthought to most people. But some really fascinating history out west that doesn't get talked about. Okay, let's see. The trenches were a defining feature of the war. World War I. Tanks were used for the first time. World War I. Fleur Courcelette, September 15th, 1916. That's the Somme, Battle of the Somme. Japan invades the Philippines. That's World War II. All right, cool. All right, yeah. I wonder if they have a Jack the Ripper quiz. Oh, it's just about the known victims. That's going to be really easy. Let's just polish that one off real quick, shall we? Annie Chapman. She was number 2, so Polly Nichols is first. Oh, okay, sorry. Mary Ann Nichols. Victim 3. Which one was first in the double event? Was it Elizabeth Stride? Yeah, and then Catherine Eddowes. And then Mary Jane Kelly. I'm increasingly convinced that Martha Tabram was the first victim of Jack the Ripper. Saw a really compelling documentary about that recently, and I may do a video about that at some point. All right, yeah, that was pretty easy. All right, what else can we do then? How many U.S. cities can you name? U.S. cities map quiz. All right, let's. Oh, it's going to point to. Oh, that's too easy. We don't want to do that. $500 biggest U.S. cities. Oh boy. Oh boy. Fab, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. Evaded like a pro. You understand how fast the thing's scrolling by and I'm looking at two screens, right? I don't see every single comment. And unfortunately, because there's so many super chats, that's a majority of what I'm looking at. But if you're posting something when there's 500 people in on the stream, and then you immediately accuse me of ignoring it when I didn't even see it, that's not a great way to get me to pay attention. Okay, let me see where we're at. Do I ever worry about AI will rise up against humanity like the Terminator or Matrix? You know what? I'm increasingly impressed and worried about what I see from AI, and it just makes me wonder. I mean, if you look at just how far AI has come in like the last year or two, it makes me wonder where in 5 or 10 years are we going to be with that? I'm less worried about a Terminator scenario. I'm more worried just about what it means for people and their jobs. Because so many people and their jobs, honestly, I can see AI replacing a lot of that. And that includes me with YouTube. I mean, thankfully, a lot of what I do on YouTube is not reproducible by AI because a lot of it is me talking and reacting and human interaction. And that's not really something AI can do. But increasingly, I mean, look at the video I reacted to yesterday, which is doing phenomenally well on the channel, by the way. I think it's because it's presidents. It's an AI thing. That was produced by AI. I mean, I would love to know the percentage of YouTube channels right now that are AI generated content. I can right now get on, I can go to Chat GPT, have it give me ideas for YouTube videos, have it write me a script for the YouTube video, drop that script into another AI technology that will make the video for me. And then I can upload it to YouTube and I can do the whole thing in less than 10 minutes. And a lot of people are doing that. And the quality is terrible. And AI still gets a lot of stuff wrong. That's what I worry about right now. But it's funny how often lately I've been talking like to my kids. And I'll be like, I feel like we have a movie about why that's a bad idea. Things like the fact that we just recreated dire wolves and stuff like that. Will I be watching the new Titanic documentary tonight from National Geographic? No, but I just saw the headline about that. You know what I did just watch a couple of days ago from National Geographic was they had I think it was a 3-part series on the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was fantastic. Had Bill Clinton in there, had I think the guy who was the governor of Arkansas at the time, had some of the people who were rescue workers, who were victims, who lost children. Really, really good. And that was a key moment in my life. I was a senior in high school when that happened. So I'll have to check that out. Do you think Russia would ever become a major world power without winning the Great Northern War? It's still possible, but it's greater likelihood, of course, that Sweden stays a world power. Brian, appreciate you. We differ on different issues, but you remind me of a time in this country. I agree, Brian. I missed that. I hope we get back to that. Yeah, I know that the dire wolves thing is kind of fake news. It's not exactly what it sounds to be. An SNL quiz, interesting. All right, let me do a few more, and then we'll start doing this cities quiz here. Let's see. Are Scottish people considered British the way that someone from Ohio or Alabama are considered Americans? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a little different though because a lot of Scottish people would say that is their nationality. So no, it's not as simple as Ohio or Alabama being Americans. I think it's deeper than that. It goes goes much deeper than that. I think it would be more like someone from Ohio versus someone from Puerto Rico. I think that's a better comparison. Both Americans, but also kind of different. You know what I mean? Brazil's Legacy, thank you for that. No questions today. Looking forward to. I am too. I cannot wait to meet you there. You were in Louisville a couple weeks ago, weren't you? I can't remember if we met there or not. If we had a chance to talk, but I'm definitely looking forward to not only just meeting, but hanging out together. We're going to have a lot of time together. Ask the guys who have been on the previous trips. It's funny because we do the tour stuff all day. And then in the evening, you'd think a lot of people would want to be on their own, but then we all go out and hang out with each other till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So it's a lot of fun. Do I think alternate history plot of Man in High Castle could have happened? Unlikely, but I mean, it's always interesting to think about. All right, let's do some of this, and then we'll get back to some more questions. All right, we'll start by state. Let's go over to Ohio and name. So we're talking about the top 500 cities, largest cities. So obviously in Ohio, we'll start with the largest city in Ohio, which is Columbus. Then we'll do Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, Dayton would probably be in there. That might be all in Ohio that's in the top 500, unless Akron. Yeah, Akron's in there too. That's probably it. That's my son is being very loud in the next room. All right, then let's, I guess, go to Michigan, right? Grand Rapids. Got some friends in Grand Rapids. Is Lansing in there? Yeah. Detroit, if I spell it right. In Springfield, they're eating the cats. You do know that. I'm sure you're joking, but that definitely never happened. Definitely never happened. What do we have in Indiana? One already got highlighted. Must have had the same name as somewhere else. All right, Indianapolis. Fort Wayne, probably in there too. Is Lafayette in there? Yep. I wonder if Gary is in there. No, Gary's not in there. Oh, while we're at it, we might as well do Chicago. There's going to be probably several Springfields. Springfield, Ohio made the list. That's right outside of Dayton. That's where the cats were supposedly eaten. Ann Arbor's probably not in there, but we'll try it. Oh, it was. Okay, very cool. Even though we don't want to talk about that city, you know what I mean? Kentucky, we're going to have, I don't know if Frankfurt would make the list. No, it didn't. Probably just Lexington then, huh? Lexington might be the only one in Kentucky that makes a list. I doubt Paducah. Oh, Paducah was big enough. Okay. We got St. Louis over here. We're obviously going to have, let's back out a little bit, shall we? Texas is going to have like 50 of them. We'll do some of the other places first, right? How about Spokane, Washington? Seattle, Washington. Oh, Louisville, duh. Of course, Louisville, Kentucky will be in there. How about Portland, Oregon? Maybe Salem, Oregon? Yep. And there's another Salem in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. What's showing up down here? That's not New Orleans. That's weird. Oh, you know what? Here we go. We got a list right here. Let's go by the list, shall we? So New York City. California, we're looking at Los Angeles. Florida's next, Miami. Okay. Texas, we're going to have Houston and Austin and Dallas. Pennsylvania, that's going to be Philadelphia. The one that doesn't have a state next to it, Washington, D.C. doesn't have 5 million people in it. That must just be counting like the metro areas. Louisiana has a Lafayette. Okay. We'll get to some more questions in a couple minutes here after we do some more of these. Atlanta. This is a lot easier going by population. Boston. Phoenix. Then we're in California. We're probably looking at Sacramento. Some of these are going to be hard because California's got like these really big cities that nobody thinks of as being big cities. San Diego. What's the 3.2 million one in California? Yeah, some of these I think are going by just the city population, and some are the metro areas. Like New York City doesn't have 19 million in the city. It has that maybe in the metro area. But some of these, I think, are just the city itself. Long Beach, that's probably it. No, it's not. Interesting. Oh, San Francisco, of course. Minnesota, so we're looking at Minneapolis. Back to Florida, what would be next? Tallahassee? Nah, it'd be Jacksonville. Oh, I did Jackson. Oh, it's not Jacksonville. Miami. Oh, Tampa. Oh, Pasadena. Oh, we already did that one for California. We'll come back to it. Colorado's Denver. We'll do like 5 more, and then we'll get to some more questions here. Back to California. Pasadena. Did I already do Pasadena? Oakland. There you go. Nope, it's not Oakland. That probably got included in San Francisco. What would be the next one for California that we didn't do yet? Well, obviously Nevada, that's Las Vegas. Oh, Fresno? Fresno was on there, but it's not the next one on the list. I think we did San Jose already. Yeah, I think it's further down too. We'll get to Baltimore. Texas, that's got to be San Antonio. San Jose, we did San Jose. Anaheim. No, it's not Anaheim. That's probably getting counted in Los Angeles as well. I think these are counting the metro areas. Interesting. All right. Let's do a few more questions, and then we'll come back to it. Logan, thank you for that. I appreciate that. American Nerd, considering how big, bloated, and corrupt the federal government has become, I feel that the chainsaw approach to Doge is the way to go. And I think a lot of people agree with you on that. So I don't discount the fact that a lot of people do feel that way. World War Deuce, rank them. Eisenhower, Patton, Oppenheimer. Well, Oppenheimer's not a general. So I don't even know how to rank him with the others. But as generals go, Eisenhower, Patton, Bradley, Montgomery, I think in the order that you have them. And they all have different roles, right? Like Patton, if you want somebody to attack and get a breakthrough, Patton's your guy. If you want somebody who's a good on-the-ground ground forces commander, Bradley. You want somebody who's an overall strategy guy who's going to do with logistics and politics and all that stuff, Eisenhower's your guy for that. Favorite historical location in Tennessee that you've been to? There's some good ones. The Franklin Battlefield. It's been a long time since I was there, but I would say the Franklin Battlefield. Cold War quiz, Brandon. You just want to do that because you know you do good at it. I'm not very good at that. If I could be a character at Appomattox, who would I want to be? Eli Parker. Guy had a front row seat. He's a Native American, really cool. Would love to have that really like be involved, but not be the man like Grant, but still be very involved with it and have memories for a lifetime, man. Or maybe like John Rawlins, who John Rawlins didn't have to do anything. He was chief of staff for Grant. What would have been the best way for the USSR to survive in the 21st century? They would have had to have done the things that Gorbachev tried to do, but do them 15 years earlier, I think. Implement those reforms much sooner, release the Eastern Bloc countries much sooner, do all of that and start to like adapt to kind of that hybrid capitalist communist thing that China has going on, and you can probably survive. In my opinion, if I played a Western game like Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, I think those games tell a lot about history. Yeah, they're great. And people, every single day I get multiple comments telling me I need to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I have played it. I just haven't played it like for the channel, but I have played it. All right, let's do one more and then we'll do some more of this quiz. Think U.S. helping French in wars repays 1776 war. Yeah, in fact, very famous speech that's given by Colonel Charles Stanton, not by General Pershing, when American troops have a parade through Paris in 1917 It's our first time getting involved in a European war. They go to Lafayette's grave in Paris, and he gives this speech, and it ends the speech basically by saying, "What America has of its blood and treasure are yours." And he ends it with, "Lafayette, we are here." There was very much an understanding by the U.S. troops that were there that they were, in fact, repaying what the French had done for us in the Revolutionary War. Okay, let's do some more of these. We still have that one California. Bakersfield, let's try that. Nope, that was another one, but that was still not the one that we're looking at there. All right, you know what? I got to figure this out. What are we missing? Long Beach, Oakland, Bakersfield, Anaheim, Stockton, Riverside. It's 2.2 million, though. There's got to be a big one that I've missed somewhere. We said San Diego. San Diego was right here. San Francisco's right there. Now, San Bernardino is not that big. I don't think it's Riverside. Oh, it was Riverside. Hey, there we go, Professor What? Good job. We're on to Florida. I think we did Jacksonville. Or no, we didn't do Jacksonville. Oh, it's not even in there. That's right. Jacksonville's not that big. It's not Tampa. Is it Tallahassee? It wasn't that one. It's got to be Orlando. Pennsylvania. There's no way. Pittsburgh is not that big. That's definitely the metro area. Pittsburgh's not even a million. Missouri. We did St. Louis, didn't we? Yeah, this has got to be Kansas City. Virginia. Richmond? No, it's not Virginia. What's the largest city in Virginia? Alexandria? No. Norfolk? Virginia Beach? Oh, it's Virginia Beach. I typed Norfolk and it gave me Virginia Beach. Justin came here to drop your obligatory come to Newfoundland for a trip plug. I would love to go to Newfoundland. I'm in awe of those guys. One of my first trips to the Western Front. Actually, it was my first trip to the Western Front. Included a visit to the Newfoundland Memorial Park, and that unit, the Royal Newfoundland Regiment, has a near and dear place in my heart. Raleigh. No, Raleigh's down there further. So we did Winston-Salem already. So what are we missing in North Carolina? I think we did Winston-Salem already. Yeah, we did. Charlotte. Duh. Thank you for that, Mitch, and everybody else who just said it. Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Rhode Island. That's got to be Providence. It's the only one that would be on there. Utah, Salt Lake, Tennessee. We didn't do Nashville yet, did we? Then another Tennessee. So this has got to be Knoxville. I was just in Knoxville. No, it wasn't Knoxville. Chattanooga? No, it's not that big either. What's next? Oh, Memphis. Oklahoma City. Great city. I love Oklahoma City. The Oklahoma City bombing museum is phenomenal, and the memorial there, so good. You're the only 10 I see, VTH. Thank you, Boogie Monster. I appreciate that. Connecticut. What's the largest city in Connecticut? No, it's not Windsor. It's New Haven, right? No, it's down further. What am I missing? Hartford. Duh. I've been to Hartford. Beautiful city. New York. There's got to be Buffalo. We'll do a couple more, then we'll do some more questions. I am watching the chat. Greg, you're in Mentor. Very cool. Mr. Beat is coming to Northeast Ohio in August, and we're going to head over to Mentor and do some James Garfield stuff together. So, yeah, that's what I said, chat. It switches between metro and city limits, so it's a little confusing, but Connecticut. What else? Windsor? No, we're probably looking at, I already did New Haven. Bridgeport. That's down close to New York City, isn't it? Los Angeles or Louisiana. Baton Rouge. Red Post. No, it's not. It's got to be Shreveport. No, it's not. Bridgeport. Oh, we already did that for Connecticut. We've guessed 85 of the top 100 cities in the United States. What would be next? We already did New Orleans, didn't we? No, we didn't. Okay, cool. Next in Arizona has got to be Tucson, which was where my mom lives. What haven't we done in Texas so far? Waco? No. There's so many in Texas that I'm not going to know because Texas has so many big cities that nobody's ever heard of because there's so many big cities in Texas. All right, some more questions. Thought on the great film, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, great movie, yeah. How it depicted the Civil War. Here's my thing, and I know that people like At and Shay absolutely love how the Civil War is portrayed in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. It's so ahistorical to me, like the way that they portray stuff in the Civil War. Just whatever you think about how they got the attitudes in the people, the settings and the battles, it's all so ridiculous. Like that is not what any Civil War battlefield looked like. I never watched that and thought this is an accurate portrayal of the American Civil War. I don't know why people think that. As a Yinzer, I'm curious, what's your favorite Pittsburgh area restaurant? You know, honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time in the city of Pittsburgh. I'm going there tomorrow, though. I'm actually going down to IKEA tomorrow, which I know isn't quite in the city of Pittsburgh. That's Robinson Town Mall, but I don't know that I have one, unfortunately. I need to get back to you on that because I haven't spent a lot of time in the city. I usually mainly go to the airport in Pittsburgh. Did I support Mitt Romney? I did. And how do you think he would have done as president? I think he would have been a very good president. I think he would have been great, and he was really. I agree. He was mischaracterized badly in that campaign, and he was talking about how Russia was really like a concern for us, and even Barack Obama and I think Barack Obama's a smart guy. Kind of made fun of him for that, and he was absolutely right about Russia being somebody we had to be concerned about. He got mocked from both sides, from the left and the right, and I think he would have been a very good president. Could Texas have maintained its independence until today? I doubt it. Just with the nature of Manifest Destiny and the fact that you have these large countries like the United States and Mexico forming, I think Texas eventually they knew they had to side with somebody. Funny you mentioned that equity, because we had Wedgwood pizza for dinner tonight. Wedgwood pizza is my favorite by far. Not even close. I've never had pizza anywhere close to as good as Wedgwood pizza. And there's only 3 of them, and one of them's about a mile from my house. And I used to live like a half a mile from the original Wedgwood pizza. Imagine if you could somehow be transported into Ulysses S. Grant's body at the beginning of his presidency. What would I have done differently? Not trust the people in his life, both in his cabinet, but also in his personal life, that took advantage of his willingness to trust them. I would have been much more guarded and much more scrutinizing of the people in my life. That's what I would have done differently. And I think I probably would have, early in my first term, cracked down harder on the South even than he did. And he did a good job. I would have used the goodwill and the kind of presidential capital that he had when he came in 1869 to right as many of the wrongs from Andrew Johnson as possible. All right, let's do 1 or 2 more, and then we'll do some more of the quiz. Missed the chance to meet at the Show of Shows, Battlefield 1. I did play a little bit of Battlefield 1 on the gaming channel about a month ago. It was a lot of fun. Had a blast with it. Role player on Verdun or the Somme. Yeah, all good stuff, man. What are my thoughts on Christian apologetics? I think it's super important. Being able to defend your faith logically and historically and with archaeology and all that stuff. I love the study of apologetics. I have a lot of books on Christian apologetics. All right, we'll get to some more questions in a few minutes. We're back to Texas. Fugi, thank you for that. Stop by to say you love the content and keep up the dedication. Appreciate that. Texas is going to be hard. Let's go back. Let's go to Honolulu. Nebraska, we're looking at Omaha. Another Texas, another Florida. What's the next Florida one going to be? Daytona? No, but that is on the list. Oh, El Paso. Yeah, that could be El Paso. Yep, there you go. Nice. Justin Davis and RKFU Gaming got that one. And so did Tater. Almost missed you there. Next one for Texas. Brownsville. All right, that could be. Brownsville's on the list, but it wasn't the next one. Tampa, we already have. St. Petersburg. It might be like this. Well, St. Petersburg's probably counted in Tampa. San Antonio, we already got. Lubbock. Could be Lubbock. That's also on the list, but not the next one. Arlington, Texas. I think we already did Arlington. Thinking of Virginia, so I think we already got it. Fort Worth, we already did. I think, yeah, as it relates to Indiana. San Angelo. That's on the list somewhere. We did Houston already. Houston's like one of the top 5 largest cities in the country. Round Rock? No. We did Bakersfield already. Amarillo. Yeah, I've been to Amarillo. That's on the list, but also not next. San Antonio, we already did. There's another Florida one. There's Alabama. That's going to be... No, it's not Mobile. It's going to be Birmingham. New Mexico, that's going to be... I don't think it's Santa Fe. Santa Fe. It's Albuquerque. Oklahoma, that's got to be Tulsa. I've been to Tulsa. Texarkana. That's on the list as well, but I don't think that was the next one on the list. Galveston, that's probably it. Nope, that's not it either. This is fun. Fort Myers for Florida. No. Corpus Christi. Body of Christ. That also is not next. I think we did Austin already. Yeah. Beaumont. Also on the list. Also not next. Midland and Odessa. And we did Waco as well, I think. That's what I'm saying. There's so many in Texas that are on this list. We did Arlington. We did Dallas. Yeah. Laredo. That's also on the list. Also not next. Plano. I have cousins in Plano. That's outside of Dallas, isn't it? Nope. We did Lubbock. Let's go down a little further. New York, what's next on the list? Albany? Nope. We did Amarillo. California. Colorado is going to be Boulder, right? Or Colorado Springs. The Springs, as they call it there. Tyler, Texas. Was that the next one on the list? No, it wasn't. Denton. Also on the list, also not next. We're doing really good at getting a lot of these, even though we're not getting the next two on the list here. Syracuse, New York, yeah, that's going to be on the list. We did Bakersfield already on California. Fort Worth, we already did. South Carolina, that's going to be Charleston. I don't think Charleston's that big. It doesn't seem that big when you're downtown. McAllen. That was the next one, McAllen, Texas. I've never even heard of McAllen, Texas. Where the heck is McAllen, Texas? Hold on, I got to check my texts. Oh, JD was texting me about the super chat from Missouri that I missed, but I got it now. Don't hate on my Cold War request. Brandon says he texted me too. Whoa, wait, whoa, ho, 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 ho. On May 7th, Brandon and Joe are having dinner and drinks with David Starkey, who is one of my all-time favorite historians. I am so unbelievably jealous right now. He says, I'm not sure if you're familiar. Yes, I love David Starkey. Oh, my gosh. You guys are killing me, and I can't even stay because I have to come home for the Gettysburg Film Festival. How did you guys manage to get dinner and drinks with David freaking Starkey? St. Augustine. Sarasota. Bradenton, that's part of Sarasota. There we go. Cape Coral. Yeah, that's on the list. Port St. Lucie. I got an ex-girlfriend that lives in Port St. Lucie. All right, back to a couple more questions here. American Nerd, please come and visit Mobile. Yes, I want to see the Alabama and see the Civil War history there as well. It's a birthplace of Mardi Gras. Very cool. Fat Tuesday. Yeah, I need to visit Mobile, definitely. Lucas, thank you. Reacting Mr. Beats video on Herbert Hoover. Yeah, he did some really good things, both before and after his presidency. I agree. Wasn't Mitt Romney's healthcare plan? It was Obamacare light, 100%. And he got lambasted for that from both sides. Do history for fun, work otherwise. What do I do for fun? Music, video games, genealogy. But I also do genealogy for work sometimes too, but not as often as I used to. As a Democrat, I'd go back and vote for Romney to avoid Trump. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. It's funny how many Democrats I've met who say how much they miss George W. Bush. Those same Democrats all hated George W. Bush when he was president. But now, after Trump, they're like, wow, George W. Bush wasn't so bad. But they were horrible to George W. Bush at the time. If you play Hell Let Loose, I have. Oh, thank you for reminding me that I still have not edited and uploaded my H.L. Hunley video. I just about finished with my Cairo video, my Giza video that I'm hoping I'll upload this weekend. All right, let's try to get through a little more of this before we wrap up the stream here. Did I do the music in the Shiloh videos? No, I use a service that actually a lot of people use called Epidemic Sound. You pay like a monthly fee. It's like $15 or $20 a month, and you get music that you can use without having any copyright issues. It's licensed music. So you're paying for the license by paying like $20 a month or something. Somebody said Stockton. That's on the list, but not the next one in New York. Dubuque, Iowa. Yeah, that's way over there at 70,000. You know what? I didn't realize we were going to be getting into the 60,000 range. We're going to have Youngstown, Ohio, which is where I live, on that list then. Youngstown, 320. Shut up. All right, now I know this thing's jacked. Youngstown has like 65,000 people in it. 320,000 is like the entire county. That's Youngstown, Austintown, Boardman, Poland, Canfield, North Jackson, Springfield Township. You got to count a lot of stuff to get Youngstown to 320,000 people. That's crazy. Carthage, Texas? No. South Park, that's part of Denver, though, right? Yeah, that's part of Denver. Rockford, Illinois. Yeah, that's in there. Still got my Bull and Wanderer shirt. Yes, I do, Dan. I do. It's downstairs. I got a growing collection of football shirts. Duluth, I think we did Duluth, didn't we? There's probably a couple of Duluths on there because Duluth, Minnesota, which I've been to. I did Buffalo a long time ago. Thoughts on LBJ and Jumbo? I don't know the reference, so I guess I can't really answer that. Irving, is that Texas? No. I bet Erie, Pennsylvania is on the list, though, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania will be on the list. Next, though, with 400,000 people in Pennsylvania, what would that be? Because you have Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and then, we got State College is probably in there somewhere. Harrisburg, but then Erie's like next. I don't know what 394,000 people could even be. Allentown. Okay. No, it's not that either. Reading, Wilkes-Barre. It's probably Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. No, let's say Scranton. No. No, Lancaster and New York aren't that big. Williamsport's not that big. At least not to be that high on the list. Lancaster's not that big. But, shut up. Lancaster, Pennsylvania doesn't have 400,000 people in it. All right, I'm going to look it up right now. I bet it doesn't even have 100,000 people in it. Might not even have 50,000. 58,000 people in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's crazy. I don't know where they're getting their numbers from. All right, let's do a couple more questions, then we're going to wrap this one up. Because these are pretty crazy. Crazy the way that they're ranked. Ohio should be proud of Harding. He's underrated. He was certainly very popular in his day. You can't discount that, how popular he was. As a New Zealander, Anzac Day is coming up. I'm definitely going to be doing some stuff to cover Anzac Day. Curious to hear your opinion on Gallipoli and why it went so badly. I think the Navy screwed up. I think a lot of that has to do with the Navy not doing their jobs properly. I think it was a poorly executed, and I don't blame the Anzac forces for that. I think overall the coordination of the Navy and the invasion was poorly done, and the Anzacs paid for it. Hi from Pittsburgh. If you're in Oakland, I'm assuming you mean in Oakland, in Pittsburgh, the Cathedral of Learning. I know the big tower. Is that what that is? I know there's that big tower in Oakland there. I have played Assassin's Creed, but it's a long time. I really enjoyed them. It's funny when I go on tours to places like in Italy, the people I was with were like, "Oh, I remember jumping off of that building in Assassin's Creed," like when we were in Florence. Favorite JFK conspiracy? I don't know if I have one because I don't believe any of the JFK conspiracies. So I guess I don't really have one, unfortunately. Sorry. Do I know about composer Dmitri Shostakovich? I'm not familiar with him, no. One CIA gut to his boss in 1963. Hey, this Oswald guy seems like he might do something really bad during the president's Texas trip. That I don't know how true that is because that was like years later. But yeah, maybe there's something to it. Have a favorite baseball team? It is the Guardians, in fact. And I posted this on Twitter the other day, or X. I rewatched Major League the other day, and the opening camera shot, the very first image is of one of the Guardians of Traffic statues, which is where the Guardians get their name. It's these statues built in like 1930 on this long bridge that's near where the team plays now at whatever the field's called, Progressive Field or whatever it's called now. And it's cool that was the shot 30 years before they became the Guardians. So I think I got to all of the super chats. It was totally foreshadowing, Garrett, 100%. All right, we're going to wrap it up right there, guys. Thank you so much. Be watching for my latest video. That's going to be a historic site video from the pyramids at Giza. I'm just about finished editing that, so that should be going up pretty soon. Fab, I have never once visited Pornhub, never will. I think pornography is incredibly destructive. It's evil, and I take no part in it. So sorry. All right. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.